Humanity's last stand against the galactic overlord. What if humanity's very existence depended on one final, desperate gamble against an alien empire that shows no mercy? What if the only way to survive was to outwit the overlords, a force so powerful, so entrenched in its dominance, that survival seemed impossible? Welcome to a story of humanity's last stand. Here, you'll witness how far we are willing to go, through courage, ingenuity, and sheer desperation, to reclaim what was stolen from us. In the void of space, the galactic overlords reign. They've stripped entire civilizations of their freedom, their identities, and their resources. Humanity, once masters of their own destiny, now stand at the precipice of extinction. But even in the darkest hour, there is a flicker of hope. This story follows that hope, a group of rebels who will stop at nothing to regain control of their future. The stakes? More than just survival, this is a fight for our very soul, our freedom, and the right to exist as we choose. Can humanity overcome the overwhelming power of the overlords? Or will this be the end of the human race as we know it? At its heart, this story is about survival, revenge, and transformation. Our protagonists, desperate survivors, former soldiers, brilliant scientists, and ordinary citizens, are thrust together by fate, each driven by their own personal losses at the hands of the overlords. But they share a common goal: to fight back. As the story unfolds, the lines between right and wrong blur. What does it mean to survive? To avenge those you've lost? As the resistance grows, the characters undergo personal transformations, facing their fears, making sacrifices, and pushing the limits of their humanity in ways they never imagined. But the greatest conflict lies not in the battle against the overlords' technology or their armies. The greatest fight is within, the choice between vengeance and redemption, freedom and surrender, life and death. Throughout the journey, the emotional highs are as high as the stakes. The moment of hope when a daring plan is set into motion. The crushing lows when defeat seems imminent. And yet, the strength to continue against all odds pushes our characters further than they ever thought possible. Stay tuned, because this is not just a story about fighting aliens, it's a story about what it means to be human. It's about the struggle to preserve our values, our freedom, and our future. The twists and turns will leave you questioning what you would do in a similar situation. How far would you go to protect everything you've ever known? The stakes are personal. The choices, impossible. And the journey, unforgettable. Will humanity rise against the overlords? Will we succeed in our final stand, or will we be crushed under the heel of galactic tyranny? The universe is vast, its infinite stretches of stars like countless flickering beacons of lost hope, each one a silent testament to the worlds that once thrived beneath them. Now, all that remains of those worlds are fragments, destroyed cities, shattered moon bases, empty spaces where once thriving civilization stood. Silence reigns where there was once life, and the vast emptiness of space reflects the void that humanity now faces. The story begins on the edge of what used to be a vibrant planetary system, an Earth-like world that now lies at the mercy of a cold, oppressive alien empire. The sky above, once blue and full of life, is now darkened with the ever-present shadow of an alien fleet that looms like a massive iron curtain over everything. There are no stars visible through the thick, swirling clouds of smoke, dust, and debris left in the wake of an invasion. The remnants of civilization lie scattered across the ground, ruins of human achievement now buried under the boots of the overlords. The air smells faintly of metal and burnt ozone, a bitter reminder of the recent battles. The wind carries a chill, the kind that cuts through the skin and settles deep in the bones, as if nature itself has been stripped of its vitality. The once thriving cities now stand silent and empty, the hum of life long gone, replaced by the low growl of alien engines that hover ominously overhead. The ground beneath is cracked, fissures running deep, as though the planet itself is in pain, its heartbeat slowed by the invasion of a foreign power. Above, in the stratosphere, the dark, monstrous ships of the overlords cruise silently. These ships are colossal, vast, indestructible behemoths designed to intimidate and dominate. Their presence alone casts a shadow over the land, and their technology is advanced beyond anything humanity could ever hope to match. Their engines hum with an unnatural power, sending waves of distorted energy through the atmosphere, distorting the air with an eerie crackling sound that reverberates across the dead landscape. Every so often, the eerie silence is broken by the distant rumble of explosions, the occasional flare of light as a battle rages somewhere in the depths of space or on the broken surface below. The sounds of war echo from far away, muffled but constant. There are no cries of victory, only the mournful sounds of destruction. The population that once thrived here is now a shadow of its former self, either scattered or held captive in dark, unknown places. The mood is heavy, oppressive, even. There is an underlying sense of tension, a quiet anxiety that lingers in the air like static before a storm. The once bustling cities are now ghost towns, the remnants of humanity's greatest achievements now reduced to nothing more than piles of rubble. The overlords do not care about the past, they only care about their dominion over the present, and they have claimed every inch of it. The tone is grim, the feeling of hopelessness palpable. Yet there is a flicker of defiance in the air, a faint pulse that refuses to fade. A small resistance is forming, whispers in the dark, hidden in the cracks of the world, plotting for the moment when they will rise. But for now, all that remains are the endless echoes of the past, whispers of a world once free, now shackled. As the camera pans across the ruined landscape, the sounds of the overlord ships grow louder, the distant thrum of their engines reverberating through the fractured world. The once great cities, now burned to the ground, are visible in the distance, dark smudges against the grey horizon. Massive towers, once symbols of human progress, have collapsed under the weight of the invaders' fury, leaving only broken skeletons of steel and concrete in their wake. Above it all, the sky churns, an ever-darkening mass of clouds, only occasionally broken by the faintest glimmers of distant starlight. Despite the sense of devastation, there are traces of life. Far in the distance, near the outskirts of the shattered capital, a few brave souls still make their way across the barren land. They are the remnants of humanity, the survivors, clad in ragged clothing, their faces hard and determined. They are the ones who refuse to let the world slip into oblivion. Their movements are cautious, deliberate, as if every step could be their last. The air feels heavy, laden with the weight of the choice that lies ahead. Do they continue to fight, to survive, or do they give in to the overwhelming might of their alien overlords? Sensory details reveal the nature of this broken world. The smell of charred wood and melted plastic lingers in the air, mingling with the ever-present scent of metal from the wreckage of fallen ships. The taste of dust and ashes on the wind, coating the tongue with a dry, acrid burn. The earth beneath the feet feels uneven, unstable, as if it could collapse at any moment under the weight of the violence it has endured. The hum of alien technology, the distant rumbles of ships breaking through the atmosphere, the groaning of the world itself, all create a symphony of despair that plays on loop. The sky, once a brilliant blue, now carries the heavy weight of the Empire. The overlords have tainted it, their ships blotting out the stars, creating an ever-present sense of foreboding. It is a sky that has seen too much destruction, too much loss. And yet, even as the shadows stretch long across the horizon, there is still a flicker of defiance, like a small flame in the heart of the dark. In the distance, a faint sound rises, almost imperceptible at first, but growing louder. It is the sound of human resolve. It is the whisper of rebellion. The faintest hope that, despite all the odds, humanity might just be able to rise again. The mood here is one of hopelessness and tension, but with a glimmer of something more. The audience can feel the weight of what's at stake. The tone of the story is grim and tense, as humanity is on the brink of total collapse, but the smallest flicker of hope is beginning to take shape. Every moment in this scene speaks to the resilience of the human spirit, despite the overwhelming odds against it. There is a deep, almost eerie sense of loss, but it is juxtaposed with the subtle, rising tone of resistance. The world is broken, but humanity has not yet given up. The overlords may have claimed the world, but they have not claimed every last spark of hope. And that is what makes this setting both bleak and full of potential. The day begins as any other in the shattered remains of humanity's once thriving cities, a day that is marked by silence, punctuated only by the distant rumblings of alien patrols, the occasional flicker of gunfire from the last pockets of human resistance, and the ever-present hum of the overlord ships overhead. The landscape, bleak and desolate, is a constant reminder of the cost of defiance. And yet, beneath the surface of this charred world, something stirs. The conflict humanity has long feared, the moment of reckoning, is finally arriving. The first hint of conflict is subtle, a disturbance in the usual rhythm of the alien occupation. High above, in the depths of the Overlord's warships, a signal flashes, a small anomaly in their communication system that goes unnoticed by the general forces but is picked up by a handful of humans hiding in the shadow of the Empire. It's nothing more than a flicker, a momentary glitch, but for those who still dare to resist, it's a beacon. A chance. The Overlords, in their arrogance and overconfidence, have underestimated the will of humanity. They believe that their dominance is complete, that no spark of rebellion could ever threaten their carefully constructed rule. But they have not yet accounted for the one thing they cannot control, the human spirit. And as this spark of defiance begins to grow, it ignites a series of events that threaten to shake the foundations of the Overlord's empire. The first rumblings of this conflict are felt in the underground bunkers where the remnants of humanity's military forces have gathered. These men and women, battle-worn, broken by years of constant fighting, gather in secrecy, their faces hard with determination and fear. The reports of the anomaly from the Overlord fleet reach their ears like a spark falling on dry tinder. For the first time in years, the promise of hope seems tangible. In the heart of the resistance, plans are being laid for an audacious operation, a direct strike against one of the Overlord's primary supply lines. The mission is dangerous, reckless even, but it is the only way to force the Empire to shift its attention, even if for a moment. The resistance fighters, knowing full well the price of failure, move with purpose. They are few, scattered, and disorganized, but the will to survive is what binds them together. They know that if this mission succeeds, it could cripple the Overlord's grip on the planet. As the conflict escalates, the emotional toll becomes impossible to ignore. The resistance is more than just soldiers and fighters, they are people, with histories, with lives, with loved ones they've lost or left behind. Each loss is personal, and every new conflict reminds them of everything they've already sacrificed. The fighters, once resolute and strong, now begin to show signs of wear, nervous tics, sleepless nights, and haunted eyes that refuse to meet anyone else's gaze. There's a collective grief that hangs over them, but it's not something they can afford to face. The mission is all that matters now. The fear of failure is tangible, suffocating. Every battle they lose is one step closer to the Overlord's ultimate victory. Every moment they waste searching for the hidden survivors feels like a moment closer to extinction. And yet, there's a flicker of hope in the midst of it all. The Resistance still believes that humanity's survival hinges on the success of this mission, that finding the survivors is the key to their future. But the question gnaws at them, what if they're too late? The physical toll of the journey is just as apparent. The Resistance's forces are stretched thin, exhausted, malnourished, and battered. They've been on the run for so long that they've forgotten what it's like to rest, to feel safe. They've fought countless battles, each more brutal than the last, and the scars, both physical and mental, are taking their toll. As the Resistance pushes deeper into enemy territory, they are faced with the harshest terrain yet, dense forests where the Overlords have established fortified outposts, and arid deserts where resources are scarce. Every step they take is a reminder of how much they've already sacrificed. Supplies are running low, and the fighters are starting to feel the effects. Their movements are slower, their minds more distracted. Fatigue has become a constant companion, and each day spent on the battlefield only increases the sense of dread that weighs heavily on their hearts. Even worse, the Overlords have become more adept at using the terrain against them. Ambushes are becoming more frequent, and the Resistance fighters are no longer able to move freely without fear of an attack. Their safety has become a rare commodity, and they must make every decision carefully, weighing the cost of every move they make. But the true toll of this war is ideological. The Resistance fighters are beginning to question the cause they've been fighting for. The longer they remain in hiding, the more it seems like they're fighting for something that is slipping away from them, something they can never truly reclaim. The Overlords, with their insidious control over the galaxy, seem unstoppable. The more the Resistance fights, the more it feels like they are simply prolonging the inevitable. Some begin to question the very idea of survival. What does it mean to survive when the cost is so high? Is survival worth the loss of everything that made humanity who they were? As their ranks dwindle and their options become fewer, the ideological divide between those who want to fight on and those who feel that it might be better to give up becomes more pronounced. The Resistance, once united in their purpose, is now a fractured force, struggling not just against the overlords, but against their own doubts and fears. The battle against the overlords has grown fiercer, and with each passing day, the stakes continue to rise. Every decision is critical, every move dangerous. The Resistance fighters find themselves at a crossroads, forced to confront the costs of their struggle, physical, emotional, and ideological. But one thing remains certain: their fight is far from over. The overlords may have the upper hand, but the Resistance refuses to surrender. No matter how many battles they lose, no matter how many comrades they bury, they will continue to push forward. As the Resistance moves deeper into enemy territory, the danger escalates, and the toll of the journey becomes more apparent. The question is no longer just about survival. It is about what humanity will become after this war is over, and whether the dream of a free future can survive the weight of everything they have lost. In the depths of the Resistance's struggle, when victory seems distant and the weight of the conflict presses down with increasing intensity, something happens that will forever alter the course of their mission. A breakthrough, a discovery that shifts everything, a new revelation that changes how the Resistance views their enemy, their purpose, and the very nature of their struggle. It begins with a message, a cryptic transmission intercepted during a routine communication sweep. It's faint, fragmented, and seemingly impossible to decipher, but something about it catches the attention of the Resistance's communication experts. The message is not like anything they've heard before. It's encrypted with a frequency that the overlords don't typically use. It's too subtle, too coded. After hours of painstaking decryption, a single word emerges: revelation. This word alone sends shockwaves through the Resistance. The term is a symbol of something far larger, far more ominous than they anticipated. They know the overlords have been toying with advanced technology, but this hints at something far darker. In the midst of their most desperate hour, when hope seems like a distant memory, this word brings with it an unsettling clarity. The overlords have a secret, a weapon, a plan, or a source of power that no one had suspected. It changes everything. They are not just fighting an oppressive alien empire, they are fighting against something far more dangerous, something unknown that could erase all of humanity's hopes and dreams in an instant. The Resistance learns that the overlords are not just invaders, they are architects of the galaxy's destruction. The true scope of their power is revealed. The overlords have been engineering entire systems, terraforming planets not for colonization, but for consumption. They are systematically draining the resources of entire star systems, rendering them barren and uninhabitable. The overlords are not seeking to conquer, they are devouring. The message speaks of a hidden network, a resonance engine, a terrifying piece of technology that allows the overlords to manipulate and drain entire star systems of their life force, using it as a source of energy to fuel their ever-expanding empire. But it's worse than that. The resonance engine is not just a weapon, it is a device that can alter the very fabric of the universe itself. It's capable of not only consuming the life energy of planets, but also warping time and space, creating a distortion that can rip apart entire galaxies. And what's more, the overlords are planning to use it on the last remaining free colonies, humanity's final strongholds. The revelation of the resonance engine forces the Resistance to confront a horrifying truth: the overlords are not just an enemy, they are a threat to the very existence of the universe. The Resistance realizes that their mission has expanded beyond a simple fight for survival. Now, the fate of everything is on the line. Humanity is not just fighting for its own future, it is fighting for the future of every sentient species in the galaxy, for the future of existence itself. With this newfound knowledge, everything changes. The Resistance, once unified in their mission to survive, now faces a stark choice: continue fighting to stay alive, or take the fight to the heart of the overlord's empire, with the ultimate goal of destroying the resonance engine before it's too late. The decision is not an easy one. The stakes have gone from a battle for survival to an all-out war for the fate of the universe. For many in the Resistance, the shift in perspective is overwhelming. They've been fighting to protect their homes, their families, and their way of life. But now, they must contend with the weight of the greater good, the survival of all sentient life. The new mission is much more than personal. It's a fight for existence itself. The first step in this new journey is to understand the full scope of the resonance engine's power. The Resistance must gather more intel, identify its location, and determine how they can destroy it before the overlords can use it to obliterate humanity and its allies. But the challenges they face now are unlike anything they've encountered before. The overlords, knowing that their secret has been uncovered, will stop at nothing to safeguard their weapon, and the Resistance must prepare for an even more intense confrontation. The moment of revelation also brings with it the painful realization of just how much humanity has already lost. As the Resistance uncovers more details about the Overlord's destructive capabilities, they learn of entire worlds that have been wiped out, civilizations that have been erased from existence, and the unimaginable toll the Overlord's thirst for power has taken. The emotional weight of this knowledge hits the Resistance hard. What they once saw as a fight for survival is now a fight for revenge, justice, and the hope that they can stop an unstoppable force. The Resistance is forced to reckon with the emotional burden of their mission. They have spent so long fighting just to stay alive, but now they must ask themselves, what is the cost of knowledge? Can they continue to fight for survival knowing the true scale of the Overlord's destructive reach? Will they be able to find the strength to press forward, knowing that the odds are even more insurmountable than they once thought? This realization shifts the dynamics of the Resistance. No longer are they simply fighting to protect their homes, they are fighting to avenge lost civilizations, to stop a force that could destroy the very fabric of the universe. The stakes have never been higher, and yet, they have no choice but to press on. The turning point is marked by a sense of urgency. The Resistance, despite the knowledge of the overwhelming power of the Overlords, can no longer afford to waste time. Every second counts. If the Overlords succeed in activating the resonance engine, all will be lost. The Resistance begins to make plans for a decisive strike, a final assault against the heart of the Overlord's empire, where the resonance engine is housed. The decision is made, they will launch an all-out attack, gathering all their remaining forces for one last push. There can be no more hesitation, no more retreat. The Resistance understands that they are facing an enemy that is beyond anything they've ever encountered, an enemy that has the power to reshape the very fabric of reality. But they also understand that they have no choice. The war has escalated from a fight for survival into a fight for the very survival of the universe itself. The Resistance steels itself for the coming battle. The weight of what's at stake is felt in every decision they make, every strategy they discuss. There is no going back now. The revelation has changed everything. This revelation marks the midpoint of the story, where everything pivots. The Resistance no longer fights for a chance to survive, they fight to ensure that the universe itself has a future. The stakes have never been higher, and from this point forward, every action will be decisive. The path ahead is fraught with peril, but the Resistance must press on, knowing that their only chance for victory lies in the destruction of the resonance engine and the defeat of the Overlords before they can unleash total devastation. The Resistance has gathered its forces for the final battle, a desperate attempt to prevent the Overlords from activating the resonance engine. The air is thick with anticipation. The stakes couldn't be higher. This is the moment that will decide the fate of the galaxy, the final confrontation between humanity and the alien empire that threatens to erase all life as they know it. The culmination of everything the Resistance has fought for is now upon them. The battle takes place on a desolate, barren moon that orbits the heart of the Overlord's empire, a place where time itself seems to slow, a warped zone where the atmosphere crackles with the hum of the resonance engine. The planet's surface is pockmarked with massive craters, and the once thriving civilizations are now nothing but ruins. The final countdown has begun, the resonance engine is mere hours away from activation. Humanity has no time to waste. The Resistance fleet is assembled, a fragile alliance of human forces, free colonies, and allies from distant worlds. Their ships form a ragged formation, ready to strike at the Overlord's stronghold. The mood is one of grim determination. Each soldier, each pilot, each fighter knows what is at stake. There is no retreat, no second chance. If they fail here, the universe itself will fall into the hands of the Overlords. As the fleet approaches the Overlord's command station, the first signs of the true scale of the conflict appear. Gigantic warships, sleek and menacing, emerge from the shadow of the moon. The Overlord's fleet, more advanced and formidable than anything the Resistance has ever faced, is ready for battle. They've anticipated this move, they know the resistance is coming. The clash is immediate and brutal. The Resistance's ships engage with the Overlord's forces in a breathtaking display of firepower, laser beams cutting through the void of space, explosions lighting up the dark expanse. It's a battle like no other, humans and alien technology, the desperate struggle of a civilization fighting for its very survival. Every maneuver, every shot fired, is calculated for survival. The Resistance's fleet is outgunned and outclassed, but they fight with a raw, unrelenting will to survive. The tension is palpable, each attack could be the difference between life and death. The Resistance pilots push their ships to the limit, their craft weaving through blasts, evading direct hits, and countering with precision strikes. But the Overlords are relentless, their technology advanced beyond anything humanity has ever encountered. Amidst the chaos, the Resistance fights with everything they have. Soldiers aboard the ships rally, trusting in the leadership of their commanders, though they remain nameless, their resolve speaks volumes. Every move they make is a step toward the ultimate goal, the destruction of the resonance engine. The battlefield is a storm of violence. Ships explode into a fiery maelstrom of twisted metal and debris. For a moment, it seems as though the Resistance might falter, as the sheer might of the Overlords begins to overwhelm them. Their shields flicker, their ships sustain heavy damage, and their numbers dwindle. The space around them becomes a graveyard, the dead and dying floating in the wake of the battle. As the Resistance faces the brink of defeat, a sudden shift occurs. In the heart of the chaos, a breakthrough emerges. The Resistance has found a weak point in the Overlord's fleet, an opening that, if exploited, could give them a slim chance at victory. The commanders, undeterred by the carnage, order a bold maneuver, a final push to reach the station where the resonance engine is housed. The path to the core is treacherous. A small squadron of elite fighters is dispatched to penetrate the Overlord's defenses and make their way toward the heart of the station. Their task is clear: destroy the resonance engine before it's too late. The stakes are higher than ever, failure means the end of everything. Inside the station, the atmosphere is tense. The Resistance fighters, their hearts pounding in their chests, make their way through the narrow, labyrinthine corridors. Every step could be their last. They know that the Overlords have placed their most formidable forces around the resonance engine, and they're not going to let it fall without a fight. The hum of alien machinery fills the air, and the faint glow of the resonance engine pulses in the distance, a constant reminder of the imminent danger. The final confrontation takes place within the inner sanctum of the resonance engine, a massive chamber filled with a swirling mass of energy that seems to vibrate with power. The Resistance forces reach the core just as the Overlords make their final stand. A fierce firefight erupts, blasts ricochet off the metallic walls, and the air is thick with smoke and the acrid stench of burnt circuitry. The Resistance fighters, facing overwhelming odds, continue to press forward, their determination unwavering. They know that the fate of the galaxy depends on their success. With every step, the tension mounts. They make their way to the control panel, where they must make the impossible decision: disable the resonance engine or destroy it entirely. But the Overlords will not let them succeed without a fight. As the Resistance approaches the core, the final enemy, the commander of the Overlord forces, emerges from the shadows. This figure, whose presence has loomed over the entire conflict, is a being of unimaginable power. The Resistance realizes that the fight for survival is not just against an alien empire, it's a fight against the very force that has been shaping the galaxy's fate for millennia. The battle is intense. The commander is formidable, wielding technology and power beyond human comprehension. But the Resistance fighters fight with everything they have left, their bodies and minds pushed to the limit. Their determination, their desperation, fuels them. This is the moment where everything comes down to a single choice. In the midst of the chaos, the unthinkable happens. A lone fighter, realizing that there's no other way to stop the resonance engine, makes the ultimate sacrifice. They set the detonator, knowing that the explosion will destroy the engine, but also knowing that it will consume them in the process. It's a final, desperate act that will ensure that the Overlord's weapon is destroyed, even if it means the loss of their own life. The blast rips through the station, and in an instant, the resonance engine is gone, obliterated. The shockwave from the explosion sends ripples through space, and the Overlord's fleet begins to falter. Their technological advantage crumbles. The Resistance, battered and broken, begins to regain the upper hand. The overlords, realizing their defeat, retreat. But the damage has already been done. The final blow has been struck, and the universe is spared from their tyranny. The Resistance has succeeded, not just in saving humanity, but in preserving the future of all life in the galaxy. The climax marks the culmination of everything the Resistance has fought for. In this final confrontation, they face not just an enemy, but an existential threat that could have destroyed the very fabric of the universe. The stakes are immense, and the tension is unbearable, but through sacrifice, determination, and unity, the Resistance prevails. Humanity has stood against the galactic overlords and emerged victorious, though at an immeasurable cost. The dust has settled. The void of space, once echoing with the cacophony of war, is now eerily silent. The battle is over. The Overlord's fleet is in retreat, their once imposing armada reduced to drifting wreckage. The resonance engine, the weapon that could have reshaped the galaxy, is nothing but a ruinous remnant, scattered across the cold expanse. Yet, as the silence hangs heavy in the air, a new question arises: what now? What does the galaxy look like after the war? In the wake of victory, the Resistance is left to pick up the pieces. The massive, life-sustaining stations they fought so fiercely to defend are now ruins, their once thriving energy grids extinguished. The world they fought for lies in tatters, but the human spirit remains unbroken. There is no time for celebration, only reflection and the inevitable question of what comes next. The victory is bittersweet. Humanity has defeated the overlords, but at a high cost. Many brave souls perished in the struggle, their sacrifices made in the name of survival. The final sacrifice, the one that destroyed the resonance engine, ensured the survival of humanity, but it also claimed a life that will never be returned. The loss of that fighter, nameless in life, is now etched in the hearts of all who survived. As the smoke clears from the final battle, a new era begins to take shape, though it is one filled with uncertainty. The galaxy is not easily rebuilt. The power structures that once dominated the stars are now broken, and the remnants of the Overlord's empire lie in ruins. The victorious Resistance is left to navigate the delicate balance of power, ensuring that a new threat doesn't rise in the vacuum left by the Overlords. Across the human colonies, there are signs of hope. The war is over, and the fear of extinction is gone, but the scars remain. Civilizations, shattered by years of oppression, must rebuild themselves from the ground up. Leaders from every corner of the galaxy, human and non-human alike, are now gathering to discuss the future, to chart a course toward unity and reconstruction. However, this new peace is fragile. Many of the colonies that rose up to join the Resistance have their own agendas, their own ambitions. The war has left wounds that cannot be healed overnight. The old wounds of betrayal, distrust, and greed are still present, lurking beneath the surface of the fragile alliances. And yet, there is an undeniable sense of collective purpose. People know that they must work together if they are to rebuild what was lost, and prevent the rise of another tyrant. For those who survived, the aftermath of the war is a time of reflection. The journey from the first clash with the overlords to the final, desperate assault on their heart of power has changed everyone. Each person, though unnamed, has a story to tell. Each decision, each sacrifice, has left its mark. Some look to the future, their eyes bright with the possibilities of a new beginning. The war has forced them to confront their own limitations, their darkest fears, and their greatest strengths. There is a sense of renewal in the air, a collective resolve to rebuild what was torn down. Others, however, carry the weight of loss with them. The nameless fighters, the ones who never made it back to see the fruits of their labor, linger in their thoughts. The survivors know they will carry the memories of the fallen forever. Their faces may be forgotten, but their sacrifices will never be. The lessons learned in the heat of battle will guide their decisions in the days to come. Every life lost is a reminder of what is at stake and why the fight for peace and survival must continue, even when the wars are over. For some, the war has been a journey of redemption. They were once warriors of a different cause, once part of the Overlord's empire. But in the course of the battle, they found themselves fighting on the side of the oppressed, their loyalties forever changed. Now, they must reconcile their past with their future. The guilt of what they were forced to do will haunt them, but they know that their survival, and the survival of those around them, is a form of atonement. The question remains, can they live with what they've become, and what they've done? As the survivors regroup, new leadership begins to emerge. No longer are they mere pawns in the war. They are now the architects of a new future. The survivors of the resistance, their bonds forged through years of struggle, now face the daunting task of ensuring that humanity does not fall back into the tyranny that once threatened to wipe them out. It is a responsibility unlike any other, and though the weight of the galaxy's future rests on their shoulders, they are not deterred. The battle for survival is over. But now begins the harder fight, the fight for lasting peace. Will humanity use its newfound freedom to rebuild, to form a galaxy where unity and cooperation flourish? Or will the old tendencies of division, greed, and conquest return, leading them back down the path of destruction? In the quiet aftermath, as the first rays of a new dawn begin to break over the war-torn world, the survivors gather. Though their journey has been long, their battle has shaped them in ways they can't yet fully comprehend. What was lost can never be regained, but what they do next, how they rebuild, how they honor the sacrifices made, will define the future of the galaxy. The final scene offers a brief, hopeful glimpse into the future. Across the galaxy, new governments are being formed. Leaders are coming together, and the dialogue of peace is beginning to take hold. The world may be broken, but it is not beyond repair. The first steps have been taken, and though the journey ahead is uncertain, there is hope. Humanity's last stand was not just a battle for survival, it was a fight for a new world, one where the mistakes of the past can be rectified, where the chains of oppression can be broken. The heroes of this struggle, though nameless, will be remembered, not for their victories, but for the future they fought to create. The echoes of the past will always remain, but in this new chapter, humanity has the chance to build a future of their own making. The war is over. The galaxy may be in ruins, but there is hope on the horizon. And with that hope comes the realization that this is just the beginning of a new, uncertain journey. In the aftermath of this great conflict, as the dust settles and the final embers of war fade, humanity steps into a new age. One forged through sacrifice, pain, and victory. The end of the war marks the beginning of a new story, one of rebuilding, redemption, and hope for a better tomorrow. The victory was hard-won, but as the final echoes of the battle fade into the silence of space, a new uncertainty looms. The war is over, the overlords defeated, but the galaxy is still a fractured place, its scars deep and raw. The heroes of the resistance, though triumphant, know that the cost of victory is never truly paid in full. There is peace, for now, but it's a fragile peace, one built on the ashes of countless lives and dreams. As the camera pans over the aftermath, we see the first signs of renewal. The galaxy, though damaged, begins to heal. Colonies long oppressed start to rebuild their homes. New alliances are forged between old enemies, tentative but full of potential. The heart of humanity beats once more in the vast expanse of space, but its future is uncertain. As the survivors gather to celebrate their hard-earned freedom, their faces reflect a quiet recognition: the war may have ended, but the struggle for the soul of the galaxy has only just begun. The question now arises, can this fragile peace hold, or will the galaxy once again fall into the chaos of conflict and conquest? The leaders of the resistance, many of whom are now in positions of power, know that their responsibility is far from over. There are still unresolved tensions between the human colonies and their allies, political games yet to be played, and dark forces, both within and beyond the stars, that could threaten their newfound stability. In the final moments of the scene, the camera zooms in on a lone figure, standing in the shadows, watching the celebrations from a distance. Their face is unreadable, but the glint of something hidden, perhaps a plan, perhaps a grudge, shines in their eyes. It's unclear whether they are a friend or a foe, but one thing is certain: they are not finished. The story, it seems, is far from over. The survivors of the war may have been the ones to fight for the future, but it's unclear whether they can control it. Will their triumph hold, or will new enemies emerge, taking advantage of the power vacuum left by the overlords? The stakes have never been higher, and the journey ahead promises more twists, more revelations, and more battles, ones that may not be fought with weapons, but with wits, politics, and the very future of the galaxy at risk. Peace may come at a price, but is the cost of rebuilding ever truly paid, or do we just rebuild what was broken, only to watch it crumble again? Tease for future. As the scene fades to black, a message flashes on the screen, one that hints at what lies ahead. The faintest sound of a spaceship's engine hums in the background, and a map of the galaxy appears, with one region blinking ominously in red. The symbols of the former overlords fade into the background, leaving a new mark, one that seems to point to a long-forgotten corner of space, a place where whispers of new threats stir. Perhaps there's more to the overlord's downfall than anyone realizes. A lone transmission flickers on the screen, its origin unknown. The message is garbled, but one phrase breaks through the static: the real war has just begun. And then, just as quickly as it appeared, the transmission is cut off. Call to action. The screen cuts to the channel's logo with a strong, bold call to action. If you're curious to see what happens next, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell, and stay tuned for more. This final scene leaves the audience with more questions than answers, but it's enough to ensure they'll be back for more. The journey may have started with humanity's fight for survival, but the true story is just beginning, and there's no telling where it will go next. The galaxy is vast, and its mysteries are endless.